Today I want to invite us to be curious about how the monkey mind approaches validation. Have you ever noticed that oftentimes we seek validation, but it never lasts? If you do a project at work and let's say no one says anything about the job you just did, there can be some anxiety and self-doubt. Did I do a good job? Or anytime we do any kind of creation, we put ourselves out there in the world and then we question ourselves. We have some self-doubt. And have you ever noticed that even when we get the validation, when we actually get it, it actually doesn't last? We have validation for a short amount of time, but then we seek the next validation and the next validation. Following this monkey mind that tells us that we will be this person, this great person, when you get the validation, but it doesn't last, then we're always chasing this person in the future. What if there's a different way? What if that's not actually true? What if we already are the very person that we're seeking? Let me give you an example of this, and it does not mean that we don't seek validation. It means that we see validation very differently and we approach it more experientially. Let's take a look at an example. A while back, I was living in Hawaii. I had a job as a private butler. I was working in these villas that rented for $7,000 a night, and I was in charge of really high-profile individuals, and I was their right arm, and they would come for an extended stay, and I would be taking care of them. And this was after I had spent 3 years at the Option Institute studying with Barry Neil Kaufman, a process of Socratic inquiry that completely changed my life. I had spent a lot of time really inquiring about the monkey mind and learning a lot about how to actually witness the result of what this monkey mind was actually doing. One day, I'm in the office and there's the fitness instructor. We call him Coach. And Coach walks into the office and says, "Hey, JF, you know this gentleman you've been taking care of for the last week? I was just talking to him and he's been training with me every day. And he said that you're the greatest thing that he's ever seen. And he's wondering how can that be, because he has other personal assistant in his life, but he keeps telling me that no one has delivered to the level that you've been showing up every day." And I said, "Well, okay, thank you, Coach." And he said, no. He said, "I need you to hear this." And he continues. And as he was talking, I started feeling this really uncomfortable feeling and just irritated and even angry. And I just kept breathing. And then he kept saying, "I'm going to go talk to the manager and make sure that he hears about this." And finally, I'm able to complete the conversation. I get up and I say, "Thank you, Coach." And I walk outside and I start going down the path doing inquiry on myself. And as I'm inquiring about this, "How are you doing, JF?" And noticing that there's a lot of irritation and it's just bubbling anger. And I said, "What's going on?" "He's just praising you. He's saying you did a good job." And I start breathing into the anger. And the next thing I notice is that this man that said that I was the greatest didn't know me. He didn't know me at all. He knew my performance, and he was saying basically that I'm a performance. And inside of myself, I started getting aggravated because I actually did not even value this man's way of living. And so imagine that. I'm actually getting validation, or Coach is telling me that what makes me a worthwhile employee is what this man is saying, when in actuality, I'm not connecting with who I am and he's not connecting with who I am. Am I a performance? Is basically the question that came up. And how do I decide who I am as a person? Is it by following some action of service that I did and somehow that makes me a person worthwhile because he got what he needed? And now I got to the bottom of, oh, I started buying into that story as well. And that's why I got angry. Now, for many of us, we wouldn't notice what's underneath when we get validation, because we're caught into this monkey mind that actually tells us, see, that's good. We got validation now. Now you're okay. But if we pay attention, it doesn't last. And the reason it doesn't last is because it's not real. It's based on some version of who we think we should be. It's not really connected with the person I am. And so when I'm able to take a breath and notice that, how do I validate myself? Meaning, what is it about me that I'm experiencing in my body in this moment? And I'm able to come back to myself in that moment. Now, let me give you an example of when validation is actually a moment based on real evidence. The next day, I've decided that I would go power walking up this mountain every day. And it was just really hard because it was a really steep hill. And I was just dedicated. Every day I'm power walking. And that day I'm walking really hard and I'm almost done and reaching the top of the hill. And this local person pulls up with his truck and rolls down his window and he looks at me and he said, "Did you power walk up this hill?" And I go, "I sure did." And he goes, "You're an animal." And he gives me this big smile and drives off. Now, what is different between the validation that coach was giving me versus the validation that this man was giving me? He basically was witnessing me. He was witnessing the fact that I was a brave, dedicated, very courageous man who took on something that's hard to do. And what kind of a person does that? A very brave, dedicated person. And I'm able to connect with that truth because that's what I'm living in the moment. That is connected with who I am. My invitation is this. Next time that you seek validation, or that you even become aware that there's this uncomfortable feeling because you didn't get validation, look for the evidence of who you are versus an accomplishment that someone else can actually tell you, "Oh, that was such a great thing." And notice the difference. If this message resonated with you, it's not meant just to be information. Real transformation can happen when we actually put in practice in real life what we're actually learning. So for that reason, we put together some groups. We call them pods. And in those groups, we get to actually live the skills of getting to go beyond this monkey mind and actually find a place to feel safe and fully be authentically ourselves. So if that speaks to you, come and join us. Those pods are called Aviv La Vie. We look forward to meeting you.